Electronics, Renesas, Toshiba, Kioxia, where Aiga has
financial as well as the policy support from the Japanese government.
Japan, United States, China, Taiwan. Well, hello, back with another episode of Reporting Norms. Today, my guest is Aiga Ono, Chief of Staff at Rapidus Design Solutions, located in Santa Clara, California. But before we get into that, I wanted to remind our audience that if you like this content, please like, subscribe, and leave a review on YouTube. This podcast can also be found on Apple and Spotify. And I also want to point out that this podcast is powered by high.iq.ai, where we help companies implement and optimize software solutions like Type I. Now, getting back to today's guest, Aiga has extensive cross-functional experience at prominent Japanese semiconductor companies in the U.S., including NEC Electronics, Renesas, Toshiba, Kioxia, where Aiga has carefully navigated industry shifts while fostering innovation and operational improvements at each of these companies. She is a CPA, MBA, and CFA, and coupled with her fluency in Japanese, she brings a rigorous financial acumen to her strategic leadership, enabling data-driven decision-making and risk management in the rapidly evolving semiconductor landscape for both American and Japanese management. She's also a great golfer. She's got a 10 handicap, probably from all the Japanese businessmen that you play golf with, right? When you hit that ball and you hit it in the fairway, they all say, "Oh, Aiga-san, nice shot, though." Currently, Aiga serves as the Chief of Staff to the President at Rapidus Design Solutions, which serves as the marketing arm of Rapidus in the U.S. She plays a key role in Japan's semiconductor transformation with a mission to develop and mass produce 2 nanometer and beyond node technology. Rapidus is positioning itself as a competitive force in global semiconductor manufacturing. She contributes to this effort by applying a global perspective, agility, and a willingness to challenge conventional thinking. Critical traits as Japan seeks to reclaim its leadership in advanced chip fabrication. So welcome to the show, Aiga. Why don't we begin by just having you tell us a little bit about Rapidus? Probably many of our listeners haven't heard about the company. So tell us about Rapidus and what you've been doing over the last 2 years, within the company.
Sure. Rapidus is a Japan-based semiconductor foundry company founded in 2022 to advance the country's self-efficiency in cutting-edge logic semiconductor manufacturing. The company was established 2 industry veterans, Atsuyoshi Koike-san and Teri Higashi-san. The Rapidus is backed by major Japanese corporations, including Toyota, Sony, SoftBank, NEC, Kioxia, and others, along with strong financial as well as the policy support from the Japanese government. Rapidus aims to develop, mass-produce the 2 nanometer and beyond semiconductor technology, re-established in Japan, competitive force in the global semiconductor industry.
Got it. So Rapidus is a Japanese company, but it's backed by the Japanese government, coupled with about 6 or 7 major Japanese companies as well. So that sounds like quite a entity that is trying to help Japan become another leader in the semiconductor industry. Lots been happening in the semiconductor industry over the last 20 years. Can you just give us a little bit of history on especially transistor size, how that's evolved over the last 20 years, and then just help us get some perspective around what 2 nanometers really looks like?
Sure, certainly. Let's start with a simple explanation how semiconductors are made. Okay, so semiconductors start as a silicon wafer, and where tiny switches called transistors built using the process called photolithography. And these transistors connected by layers of wiring to form circuits. And the wafer is eventually cut into individual chips that power the electronic devices that we use every day, including smartphones, computer servers, and TVs, and automotive more. So the critical aspect of semiconductor manufacturing is process technology, which determines how small and efficient the transistor, the tiny switch on the wafer, can be made. This is measured by the process node, usually typically in nanometers or micrometers. Micron defines the minimum transistor length or size. The smaller the node, the more transistor can be packed onto a chip, which leads to a better performance and more energy efficiency. So today, 30 nanometer chip is the smallest process is in commercial production. For example, A18 Pro chip in Apple iPhone 16 is an advanced semiconductor made at 30 nanometer, for example.
It's 30 nanometers or is it 3 nanometers?
I'm sorry, 30 nanometer. 30 nanometer, yeah.
3 nanometers, okay.
Yeah,
So
3 nanometers.
right now is really the cutting edge technology that's incorporated in the Apple iPhone 16. Is that
Right.
correct?
Yeah, and here, 3 nanometer is the smallest process node in the commercial production. Here, Rapidus is another foundry developing 2 nanometer technology, which is the next generation of the process technology. With regards to size, because nanometer it's normally we don't use the nanometer in our daily everyday
Sure.
life. So
Yeah.
to put that into perspective, 1 nanometer is 1 billionth of 1 meter or 1 millionth of 1 millimeter. For comparison, our human hair is roughly 75,000 or 80,000 nanometers, and then the coronavirus is like 100 nanometer in size. So at this scale, the transistor size of current leading edge semiconductor is very tiny and beyond what the human eye can see. So now, and going back to your original question of the last 20 years of the evolution of the transistor architecture. So now, looking back over the past 2 decades, transistor technology has undergone a remarkable transformation, making our device faster, more powerful, more energy efficient. And back in the early 2000s, where Norman and I, worked together at the NEC, the transistor in the early 2000s were around 130 nanometers or 0.13 micron. Ring a bell?
3 nanometers was the size at that time,
Yeah.
20 years ago. Wow.
Yeah, so the micron, either or we call it 0.13 micron in size. And then as technology advanced by 2012, so like 10, 12 years later from the early 2000, transistor has shrunk to 22 to 20 nanometer, which shrinkage of transistor is by nearly 1/6 of the early 2000 or 130 nanometer. And fast forward to 2025, the cutting edge semiconductor manufacturers, including Rapidus, are pushing 2 nanometer transistors. At this scale, over 200 billion transistors, the tiny switches on the wafer, can fit on the single chip. This level with 200 billion transistor in a single chip.
Oh my.
Yeah, so this level of the integrations is really enables the power applications from artificial intelligence to high-speed computing. That that the emergence of AI is really boosting this semiconductor bubble, if you will, at this moment because of the needs of the smaller chip for the digital society that we live in. And then by for the transistor, in terms of transistor architecture, then so reducing a transistor size alone wasn't enough, and the design of the transistor had to evolve as well. So remember around 2012, the chip process node was 20 to 20 nanometer. And then around the time, FinFET, thin field effect transistor, which is a 3D structure of transistor, was introduced. This was a major breakthrough, shifting from the traditional planar MOSFET transistor MOSFET to a 3D structure. So that now 2D to 3D, and the FinFET transistor shaped like a tiny thin fish provide a better electron current control and lower power consumption, making them ideal for smaller nodes. Then
So the fin part is really sort of the way the fish's fin channels, kind of as a line there that is essentially represents the current within the chip. So that's why it was called FinFET technology, basically. Is that right? I see.
exactly, yeah.
Okay, but we've evolved from FinFET now to something newer, which I think you were going to describe now.
Yes, yeah. So here we're in 2025. The next generation of new transistor was introduced to be used for 2 nanometer is gate all around, or GAA transistor technology, which is still the 3D structures, but that this new design wrapped the gate entirely around your insulator or something, that so offering even greater speed and current control and efficiency. So
It's called the gate GAA, or gate all around technology, which is new and necessary when your transistor size nodes become so small.
yeah, smaller than 3 nanometers, so it's a 2 nanometer and beyond, like 1.6, 1.4. So on that this new technology really enabled to process technology node.
So we really
And
had
then
to transition from FinFET to now GAA FET. Is that right?
yes,
The
correct.
all around
Yeah.
technology. Okay, got it.
Yeah. FET stands for field effect transistor. So the FET.
FET transistors. Okay.
Yeah.
But now this gate all around field electronic FET is really what 2 nanometers and even smaller transistor sizes of the future will likely use, right? That the
Right.
GAA FET technology will likely be used for those.
And then
experiments.
yeah, exactly. And then the generation of the transistor continue to advance or evolve, and then like 0.7 or 0.4. I don't know how small it can be, nanometer. And then there's a new transistor technology need to be developed at the moment. But for 2 nanometers, the current leading cutting edge semiconductor, it requires this new GAA FET technology. And for Rapidus, the development of the GA technology is particularly significant. So this is a new technology, and then it levels the playing field, that opens up the new door for the new players like us. So even though the Japanese semiconductor manufacturers haven't developed the new process node after 40 nanometers, about 20 years. But because of that, development of this new GA technology allows to re-enter this, competitions or semiconductor manufacturing field.
I see. Very interesting. So the GAA FET technology has allowed Rapidus and possibly gives the opportunity for Japanese semiconductor manufacturers to kind of come back into the game. So for the current technology of 3 nanometers, who makes those chips at this point? Where are those chips manufactured, and what are some of the companies that make them at this point?
Is a TSMC. They're the only one that, developing 3 nanometer technology.
I see. Yeah, there's very new or very recent announcement about TSMC making some investments in the United States, right? To add to their fab in Arizona, about $100 billion investment.
Yeah. According to, I read the article, the Taiwanese officials mentioned that new additional fab in Arizona wouldn't produce the 2 nanometer or 3 nanometer node. It seems that they're gonna do 4 nanometer process node technology, but I don't know that's true or not. And then looks like the Taiwan wanted to remain 2 nanometer technology inside, within the Taiwan.
I see. So TSMC is really the only semiconductor manufacturer that can produce 3 nanometer technology. They're probably working on 2 nanometer as well, as is Rapidus. Uh,
Yes.
but you're saying that the fab in the United States, even with some of the investments being made at the TSMC plant, they don't plan on manufacturing anything
No.
smaller than 4 nanometers in Arizona. I see. So maybe this is kind of a good segue to talk, since you brought Taiwan up, and since Taiwan is in many regards considered to be a part of China. Um, what is the dynamic of the semiconductor industry when you think about Japan, the United States, China, Taiwan? Is China a enemy, sort of a threat or a collaborator, or are they kind of both? And then how does sort of Taiwan fit into all of that, given kind of what's happening in today's political environment?
I guess that Taiwan is very unique and then also strategic positions. It's like it's not really, it's part of China, but it's not complete China. And so this provides a very unique kind of independent presence. And then the Taiwan TSMC has the latest tech the leading edge semiconductors technology, and then like running the race is way ahead of any 3 other manufacturers, Intel, Samsung, and now it's Rapidus. So they are way ahead. So but then China itself is recent, like the tension between China and the US is continue to, and then like just yesterday, new tariff, the current and the US administration implement a new tariff on China production stuff. So it's really a vulnerable position. China is a very vulnerable position for the this semiconductor manufacturing race. But then I say like our society is without semiconductors. Our cell phones are high-end computers, especially for the AI. Calculations and AI data centers for the all the extensive amount of the data need to be collected from each device from from the electronic device. It's not, if the Taiwan is the only company that produce that process technology, is it just creates so much geopolitical economy security and national security issues. So each country, US, Japan, and many other like Korea's, they secure, try to develop its own self-sufficiency of the high, high and leading edge semiconductor manufacturing technology, which leads to the creation of Rapidus for Japan case.
That's a great point. So Rapidus helps somewhat secure Japan's ability to have access to cutting edge semiconductors, hopefully without the reliance on companies like TSMC or other manufacturers that may be in China. So, and that's actually a good segue to manufacturing facility that Rapidus is rapidly developing in Chitose, Hokkaido, which is a suburb of the major city Sapporo in Hokkaido area, right? Chitose is about 30 miles outside of Sapporo, and that is really where a new fab for Rapidus is being built to essentially manufacture the 2 nanometer technology transistors. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, we are building a $37 billion advanced semiconductor fab facility in Chitose City in Hokkaido. It's called IIM, Innovative Integration for Manufacturing. So we're building IM1, which is for IIM 1.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But first we have to build IM1 for, IM1. Yeah.
Sure. So right now, 2 nanometer, um, 2 nanometers process nodes are not mass produced at this point, but the hope or the target for Rapidus at this point is to be able to begin mass production of 2 nanometer wafers and chips. Um, was it around the 2027 timeframe?
Yes,
That
correct.
kind of target?
Yes.
Okay. But you have some pretty good testing going on in the Chitose plant in Hokkaido currently. Is that correct?
Not yet. So we're launching our pilot production line in early CQ2 of this year. So once the pilot line kicks off, then we can start, developing a test chips at the Chitose
Okay,
fab. Uh,
I see. So the first test lines sometime June, July 2025 would we may be able to see that come out of the Chitose plant in Hokkaido. That's roughly the time frame.
yes. So that was the first the switch on the pilot production line, and in order to produce the test chip, it takes another few months, probably end of year or something like that, requires.
Yeah.
I mean, switch on, then here you go. It's not
Yeah.
the
It's
case.
quite
Yeah.
like that. It's
Yeah.
you just can't crank it out like that, huh?
Right.
Now, I understand that uh, there's a company, a Dutch company, ASML, with that has essentially a monopoly on um, ultraviolet lithography that is used to essentially etch the wafers. Um, and these machines are pretty expensive and very high tech. And this particular company sells, these machines. I understand that Rapidus may have acquired one of these machines to be used at the Chitose fabrication facility. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, that's
Would-
the key. Yeah. So one of the key requirements to produce the process node, such small process node is required. So as mentioned earlier, transistor need to be built on the wafer using a process for photolithography. But because of the transistor so tiny, gotta use the ultraviolet, UV. Yeah, so ASML machine to to uh, light the circuit using the special lighting technology.
Yeah, it's done through ultraviolet light that actually helps create um, I guess what is it called? The circuits, if you will. on the chip itself. So very expensive machines over installed in Chitose very recently. But let's go back to your role at Rapidus. You report to the president of the design center. It's called the Rapidus Design Solutions Center in Santa Clara. You work closely with him. Tell us about what some of the challenges you have encountered, or what some of the things you're working on to help, expand Rapidus in the United States and increase awareness, etc.
One of the biggest challenges has been executing our ambitious mission, to produce a 2 nanometer all of a sudden from 40 nano to 2 nanometers, while navigating immense national expectation and all while building the organization from scratch, from the ground up, right? So although Lapidus is 2.5 years old, we are operating on a scale far beyond that of a typical startup. We are tasked with successfully build this IN facility, advanced semiconductor fabrication facility. Yet, like any young company, many systems, functions, and processes are still being developed. So, put in perspective, it's like being a 3 years old toddler are expected to function as an adult. We are still in the early stage of growth, but we are expected to mature rapidly and deliver, tremendous intense pressure. So, not many toddler can handle, but then that was like our missions to pull it off. So the challenge is really lies in the balancing rapid development with the need of for strong, sustainable foundations of the organizations. Yeah.
Mm, I see. 3-year-old toddler to act like a adult within a very short period of time frame is a very tall order indeed. Hence the name Rapidus, perhaps. But you're familiar with Japanese management styles, which tend to be very much consensus building, somewhat slower in decision making, etc. I suspect that you may not have time for that, sort of the what's called, in Japanese, the nemawashi, and all of that, sort of having the meeting before the meeting, and then having the meeting, and then having the meeting after the meeting, just a bunch of meetings, kind of getting consensus and agreement. Do you find that style to be present currently, or do you find sort of a mixture of both sort of Japanese management style and American management styles?
I would say Lapidus is like a very bold, unlike the traditional Japanese company, is very bold organizations and embrace, fast decision making culture. So the Lapidus is before speed, for more as reflecting our name, the derived from the Latin word of the rapid, right? So our advantage of the manufacturing side is to build, offer the world's shortest cycle time in manufacturing. And then also from the management style or organization style, also is more like faster side, and yeah, decision making is much faster. And yeah, exactly, you described right that there's no time for doing too much nemawashi, in the system. From that aspect, for the aspect, because we're startup, it's really able to, you know, move quickly, quicker than the traditional, Japanese, more bureaucratic, organization, I would say.
Yeah, I see. Very interesting. As we kind of wrap things up, I want to just remind our viewers again. You will see this episode on YouTube. We're also on Spotify and on Apple. So please like and subscribe if you like this content and you found this content very interesting. So one of my last questions for you, Aiga, is that um, as the company is trying to develop and build this 2 nanometer technology. And I actually read somewhere, I like your analogies about the size of the hair and the coronavirus. I think I read also somewhere that a strand of DNA is about 2.5 nanometers,
Yeah.
which means that the the DNA strand is almost the same size as the process nodes that you're trying to build currently. So that's truly impressive. So when you think about the nature of that and the challenges around manufacturing, we talked a little bit about the lithography and the ultraviolet um, lithography, machines needed to do this. I guess when you think about the biggest challenge for you in your mind on making this happen, um, and there's probably multiple things that are challenging for you, but if you were to maybe describe some of the most top of mind challenges to help make this happen, perhaps you could just describe that for us.
Yeah, sure. So right now, uh, just to describe what happened was that the IBM research developed the 2 nanometer GAA transistor technology. So they are licensor of this technology, and then Rapidus is a licensee of this technology to transit from R&D to mass production 2 nanometer chip. So this the lab to fab process present immense challenges, and then um, ones that even other foundry like Intel, Samsung continue to struggle with. So you can read, many articles about how difficult it is. So rather than identifying a single biggest hurdle, I would say that every aspect of this process is highly complex and demanding. So it's everything is so difficult. Having said that, we have defined clear milestones of our lab to fab roadmap. So far, we are making steady progress towards each of them. So our focus remains on systematically overcoming these challenges, the many challenges, to ensure successful path to high volume, manufacturing aiming 2027.
Mhm. I see. I could understand that there are many challenges. I do have to ask this question though, since AI is on the mind of everybody, and a lot of the discussion is around AI on the software side, the user experience, the agents and things. Here today, we're talking about how the computational power that actually makes those things happen, and the semiconductors required to do so. We talk a lot about that, but how is AI itself being used in the fab, or how would it be used in the fab during the manufacturing process as you move from, as you say, the lab to the fab?
Yeah, sure. So our manufacturing technology incorporates AI automation, robotics, process optimization, and QA measures to ensuring a fast and feasible, reliable 2 nano 2 nanometer chip production environment. And then, as mentioned earlier, one of the advantage of a fab, the Rapidus fab, is to offer the world's shortest cycle time of the semiconductor process. This will in a single warehouse processing innovation that we use. So and then integrate single warehouse processing that implement allow us to collect extensive data during the manufacturing, rely on in the AI technologies. So, the traditional warehouse processing is called batch processing. So it's like a whole bunch of the batch process was process, but but then it's single warehouse processing is we can get over 100 times more data than traditional batch processing. And then, so we by feeding this data back into design side and then optimize, we simultaneously optimize design, manufacturing enable agile design cycle or semiconductor process cycles. So this AI innovation of the AI, developing AI is definitely help our in factory tremendously.
I see. So it definitely speeds up the cycle time. Well, we're just about at time. I want to thank you very much for your sharing your insights about what is happening in the semiconductor industry and what Rapidus is doing to help Japan become another or become more relevant to the semiconductor industry around the world and all the devices that rely upon it. So, again, thank you very much. And I wish you the best of luck and Rapidus to achieve the 2 nanometer sizes of wafers and technology within the very short time frame of 2 years. So
Yeah.
again, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, very good.